Pleasure and privilege to welcome Norma Jean Wright, the first female vocalist in the group Chic. Now, you come from the small city of Elyria, Ohio. What type of a child... I think I pronounced it right. What type of a childhood did you experience there?
You sure did.
Yeah, I've been working at it.
oh, my goodness. Just the fact that you pronounced it correctly is wonderful. But Elyria was a small industrial town of, I would say, about maybe 80,000 people that lived there. And I grew up with a bunch of friends. People knew each other, and it was extended family. And I grew up around music, a lot of music. Growing up in Ohio, you hear country, you hear R&B, Motown, jazz, you name it. I was really into the music thing early on, started singing in church.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, clearly, right from the off, music was a big part of your life. When did you decide you wanted to be a professional singer then?
So like 10, when
really?
I decided that I want to sing.
Yeah.
Because I started singing in church, and then when I was like about 13, I was actually in a group called Topette. The leader of the group, his name was Red Top Young, and he was a well-known soul and organ player throughout the Midwest. So he took us out on tour with him. It was three of us. It was my sister, his niece, and myself. And so we had a chaperone. His niece's mother was our chaperone. So at about 13, I was out in clubs working with Red Top and the Topettes. I knew pretty early that I wanted to pursue a professional career in music.
But I know you went to Ohio State University, and after graduating, a friend who'd become a model in New York tells you about Curtis Knight, a singer who Jimi Hendrix played guitar for, in need of a girl singer for a group called ESP. What made you chance your luck and move to New York City in June 1976 from small town, you could argue, Ohio?
That was the plan for me. My intention was I wanted to go straight from high school to New York to pursue a music career. And my dad convinced me to at least go finish college to have something to fall back on, which was wise. And so that's what I did. But my plan was to do that. And by the fact that I ended up having a friend that had moved there, you know, when she told me about the opportunity, I just jumped at it. It was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. You'd already got, in other words, your qualifications behind you, so you were secure, I see. It was a worthwhile risk because you remained with the group for 9 months, were part of a musical production featuring Divine, and tour Canada. Reflecting back, how fondly do you remember your time in ESP?
Oh, ESP, well, because I met Luci Martin. Luci Martin was there when I auditioned for ESP. She was the lead vocalist, and they was looking for another girl to share lead. Is that footsteps are ordered or what? I'm telling you, we worked in ESP together for a while. We recorded some original material. And then the drummer from ESP, he was working with an artist in Canada, and they were looking for 2 female singers. And so Luci and I got the gig, and we went to Canada. And prior to going to Canada, I had already met Nile and Bernard, and I had been working on some of their original material. As a matter of fact, after ESP and, of course, Canada, I got the call from Bernard and Nile that they had been shopping the demos and to come back. So I came back to New York.
What enticed you to join up with Nile and Bernard?
What enticed me was a friend of mine who happened to be a friend of Nile Rodgers. Her name is Lene Davis. We're still like best friends. She was a singer and an actress, and she had worked in local bands that featured Nile and Bernard. And she said to me, she goes, "Hey, Norma, I know these guys is putting together a group, and they're looking for a lead female vocalist." And she says, "I think you should audition." So that's what I did. He introduced me to Nile.
I was going to say, you're a great networker, aren't you, with all these friends?
I was really, some people say luck, but I think I was blessed, you know, to come to New York and to meet people that quickly. Because I was here probably 6 months and met, you know, Nile and Bernard.
Can I ask, the name and the image of Chic was very important to the group's whole mystique. When you joined, how far down the line were Bernard and Nile with the image and the name?
They had the name, okay? And I believe that Nile's vision, I think he saw Roxy in the UK, and he was very impressed with that organization. They spoke about, at that time, their vision. They wanted to bring in another girl, but we had started recording the music. You know what else happened, though? I'm not certain exactly. I know that the image part and the strings and all of that was a part of the concept from the beginning. And I think that with Nile seeing Roxy, and also when the album was released and it had the two girls on the cover.
That was intentional.
Absolutely. It was intentional, definitely. But a lot of people ended up thinking that those two girls was the group. Was definitely intentional.
I mean, I've read that it was a marketing ploy to get more people to listen to that unusual sound, and the marketing obviously related to Roxy with some of the album covers there. Now, we all know that Tony Thompson on drums, Nile Rodgers on the choppy guitar, and Bernard Edwards on the bubbling bass created the distinctive music sound of Chic. Can you tell us, how different were the three of them as personalities?
Together, I mean, you'd be laughing all the time. Individually, I would say that Bernard was kind of like the father figure of the group and really serious most of the time. Plus, Bernard had a family, so he was very serious.
Mr. Responsible.
Mr. Responsible, perfect description. Niall was a little more carefree and fun, and
he had a bohemian upbringing, didn't he?
Yes, he did, absolutely. So he had like that little bohemian side to him. And Tony, we called Tony Mr. Debonair.
Oh.
Sweetie Pie, he was Mr. Debonair. He was also, what a character at times. Very stylish.
Shows in his drumming.
He had jazz training.
Apart from the singing, reflecting back, what role do you feel you played in the creation of Chic?
I contributed to the vocal sound of Chic.
By heck you did.
In a big way. I think myself and also Luther Vandross, he really, to me, was the architect of the vocal sound of Chic, because Luther would give me a direction with a lot of the background stuff, but even with lead vocals, I would say to him, Luther, should I try this?
What a sounding board.
Oh my God, he was so amazing and just such a giving spirit.
Right.
We very much, as a team, the vocal sound was choral, group sound, I should say. But initially, I think as far as lead voices, I kind of have my little own
you do.
style. And some of the Chic music I call it my lady in distress kind of like sound.
I see.
Like they loved that little kind of girly sound.
Dance, 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 brackets Yowsa, Yowsa, Yowsa was the first hit for Chic, although it's credited as an Edwards Rodgers Lehrman co-write. Again, how did you help mould that song?
Actually, on that song, they laid the background vocals with Luther, Alpha, I think it was Diva Gray. She sang with David Bowie. Oh, I
Robin?
Can't think of her name right
Was it
now.
Robin?
Robin Clark, David Lassie. Oh, you're great. I love it.
Yep.
I love it. You make this so easy. They laid the vocals for that song, and my voice was added later. They had sketched it out, and that's why in sketching it out, Luther Vandross was very much a part of sketching with those vocals.
You see, Everybody Dance, I think, is the first Chic classic. It's completely positive. It's joyous. What are your memories of how that song took shape?
I remember going in the studio, and the thing about it, I had heard the song. They gave me like a little demo. I just remember it being, because the key of that song was like between my natural and my top. So I just remember placing it kind of like in the middle and using my head tones. I loved the lyric. I just thought it was a really great song. I didn't know it was going to, because they did the demo for it, and then that's one of the songs. It's Robert Drake, who was a DJ, and also he was in the studio with us engineering. So he took this demo and he played it at one of the clubs here in New York, and the people just went mad on the dance floor.
Yeah, I bet. Along with Luther, Alpha and Diva from Chic, in 1978, you're the backing singer on that classic album We Are Family by Sister Sledge. How do you remember that experience?
Yes. Oh, wow. Now, I really loved the Chic songs, but hearing some of the Sister Sledge songs, I was like, wow. these are going to be big hits. We Are Family, Lost in Music. Nile and Bernard continue to just get better and better and better.
My goodness, didn't they? Can I look at one of those songs? We Are Family. I mean, it's a classic. It's very vocally driven. So how far had Nile and Bernard sketched out the vocals by the time you were involved in that song?
What happened with Chic, often it was they wanted you more subdued to some degree. On We Are Family, they allowed Kathy to ad-lib and riff. They embraced that, and they let her go in and do her thing. But again, Luther was very much hands-on. But they had mapped out what the backgrounds would be.
You are one of the greatest backing singers of all time in pop. My view is it has to be worked at. Although someone else is out front, backing singers provide important textures in songs. What do you see as being the particular challenges backing singers face in comparison to lead vocalists?
Well, as a lead vocalist, you just do what you do. The spotlight is there on that lead. As a background vocalist, you have to know how to support. It's not about you or your note per se. It's about blending.
The song.
And it's about sounding like a unit and finding where your tone fits best and placing it. Sometimes you have to be very subtle. Sometimes your note may be the one that needs to be stronger, depending on what the producer is looking for. Being flexible.
Yeah, you might have more of a presence in the vocal or less.
Right.
And that's difficult, isn't it?
Well, if you have had some training in doing that, because there are a lot of lead vocalists that may not be able to do background vocals because they just know how to lead. They may not know how to work as a unit like that.
It's incredible, really, when I think about who you've worked with, because after leaving Chic, you were backing vocalist for new artist Madonna on her first album. How did that happen?
You know what? I met Madonna in a dance class. I met her in a dance class before she was Madonna. I went to this dance class because I had two left feet. I was not a good dancer, so I went there to learn how to, be on stage with the right little technique and stuff. When I went to this class, there was this blonde chick at the front of the class, and I said she was dancing her ass off. And I'm like, who is this chick? So after the class, we ended up introducing ourselves to each other, and we took the train home together, and she was telling me that she was from Detroit and she was here to pursue a music career. She had such style. Madonna, a couple of times after some of the other classes, we'd get on the train, and there were people that would come up and they wanted to take pictures of her because she just had this presence about her. So she was telling me what her plans were, and she had written a couple of songs, and she was looking for a manager. I introduced her to my then manager at the time and introduced her, to some folks that I knew in the business. And later on, when she got her deal, she ended up having Reggie Lucas as the producer, who I had worked with a number of times. And I was so impressed. I would say that one of her greatest strengths is knowing how to market herself. She
wrote 5 of the 8 songs on that first album of hers. The impression you get is it seems that at that time Madonna was extremely hardworking and driven. But working with her firsthand now on that album, what were your memories of Madonna?
I know that she had a clear vision of what her objective was, and she also had a sense of what, in reference to the sound and I guess where she fit. In the studio, often she had ideas. She wasn't always able to vocally show you exactly what she wanted, but she knew and had a great sense of exactly what she wanted to do. And on a number of those songs, it's just she and I singing, and she had a great sense of rhythm. She knew what the world was looking for, and it was her.
So, for instance, on a song like Holiday, it was you and her, really?
On Holiday, I think there was me, Madonna, and there's another young lady that was singing with us. But on, like, Lucky Star and it's Physical, I can't remember off the top of my head. We're talking about 30 years ago, 35.
Burning Up, maybe, I don't know.
Burning Up, a lot of those. On Borderline, it was myself and Brenda White King and Gwen Guthrie, who is no longer with us. What a fabulous album.
I was going to say, Norma Jean, you had a hand in breaking Madonna. Wow. Away from singing, you've always been active in the music industry. For instance, you've produced and managed artists. Now, in October, you're performing at the Sydney Opera House as one of the artists in the Disco Spectacular. What memories do you have of Australia?
Do you know this will be my first performance in Australia.
You've never visited before?
I have taken connecting flights through
Oh
Sydney.
no, how dare you.
I am so excited about being able to perform in Sydney and to really take in the city. I'm ecstatic about that. And then to come there and perform at the Sydney Opera House, I mean,
Wow.
I'm
Good.
over the moon.
How good is 2018 for Norma Jean Wright with all that you've done in the past?
I'm still very happy. I'm still working here. I'm working with Martha Watch and Linda Clifford, and we're doing First Ladies of Disco show. There was a book that was written by James Arena called The First Ladies of Disco, and it features 32 women that pioneered disco music. It includes Gloria Gaynor,
Wow.
myself. So I'm out there working with Martha and Linda, and also Alpha and Luci Martin and I work as the former ladies of Chic here in the States. So I'm pretty busy.
Norma Jean Wright, singer with Chic, Randy Crawford, Madonna and Aretha Franklin. It's been a pleasure having you as a guest on Retro Popic Radio.
Thank you so much.